Okay, the doors have closed, so we're going to get started now. I can't see almost anything. My eyesight's kind of going as it is, so I want this to be incredibly interactive. That means if you're raising your hand, I might not be able to see it. Please feel comfortable to just blurt it out. Pretend like it's the first century. You're listening to Jesus speak. I'm not pretending I'm Jesus in this scenario, but you want to say something, so you blurt it out, okay? I'm good with that. That's not going to slow me down, throw me off, or bother me in any way. I want to know what you're thinking as I present this information. Can I get an amen? Amen. Okay. My name is Shawn Sommerkamp. You probably can't tell that from the signature, but that's my signature. I started an executive coaching business called Motivationeer Christian Coaching. I am an executive Christian coach, which means I use God's word to help people find out how to excel in the marketplace. Lots of gurus today will give you ideas like Tony Robbins and Peter Drucker and lots of people. I show you where those same truths that they're telling you are grounded in the ancient truths of God's word to help us succeed. I have a very deep conviction that if we, in the places of work that we are, strive to rise up the chain of command within our companies, we can have an exponentially bigger impact for Christ. That does not mean if you're one person on an assembly line with a bunch of people that you can't impact people for Christ. You can, but the higher up the chain of command you go, a psychological effect takes over known as the halo effect. Have you guys ever heard of the halo effect? That means because of the role that you have, people will see you different. So imagine, you go listen to one of these evangelists speak and they're powerful and you get kind of like smitten, like, wow, should I go talk to him? And you go up to the stage and you're kind of timid. That's the halo effect at work, okay? When you raise up in your company, people will start to listen to you a little bit longer. Then you can speak the word of God into their lives and help them not only excel with you in the company, but to be a better person in life because of Christ, okay? My motto is, our career is not just a way to make a living, it's a way to transform the world. Yes, we can transform it one person at a time, but how about transforming the entire Eastern Division of a Fortune 500 company? Ooh, that'd be pretty cool. We can all do that, okay? This is how to manage your emotions in any workplace situation. Is everybody in the right place? Is everybody ready to give some feedback and engage with me? Almost nobody said yes. A couple of nods, which I happen to see, but thank you for that. I'm going to approach this from 4 key puzzle pieces: our emotions, our thoughts, our actions, and then a couple tools that I'm going to present to you that you can use to start managing your emotions with whoever you're going on a date with later tonight, whoever you're hanging out with for dinner, or when you get back to work, working with your employees or your manager or your customers. What I want to do, and in fact, I am going to do it, I'm going to simplify this so that it comes together in kind of a neat little package. But this is a lot of very complex information that ultimately really looks more like this. Now, not everybody enjoys the beauty of abstract art. And what I'm going to tell you, some of it is going to be abstract. So I'm asking you, start off by pushing the I believe button, but be very willing to challenge me. I don't mind, okay? Speak up, just say, Shawn, that didn't make sense. That I seems a little out of place. Can you help clarify? Or I totally disagree with you. That's good. So out of these 4, which one do you think I'm going to start with? Okay, I heard a little bit of each. It's going to be emotions. Surprised? Actually, surprise is one of the basic human emotions that all beings on the planet, human beings, experience. Everybody experiences surprise. In fact, if you didn't know, there are 4 main lists over the millennia of human emotions where people took the time to really think through a list of human emotions and captured them in a profound way. If you did not know what these lists are, I'm going to share them with you now with a little happy face. The one in the top left corner, that's Aristotle. He put together his list in 335 BC. And we're not going to spend a lot of time on his list. We're going to do it on just one, but His is pretty amazingly accurate. If you want to read it in the original Greek, he wrote it in his book, Rhetoric 2, just in case. Top right-hand corner, Darwin, he wrote this. He captured them in his book that he wrote in 1872 called The Expression of Emotions in Man and Animals. Bottom left-hand corner, Robert Plutchik, a professor at USF, got his PhD from Columbia. He did his research and published his findings in 1980. And then lastly, just 2017, UC Berkeley, a professor by the name of Dr. Keltner, put together a really huge list of human emotions. Of course, that's what UC Berkeley has to do. Make it super complicated. Here they are. We're not going to spend time kind of going through them, but the one that I use with all of my clients, and we're going to spend a little bit of time on this ourselves, is the one from the guy named Robert Plutchik. That symbol represents this list. If not, you don't have to do it now, but if you wanted to, you could type into Google search the wheel of emotion. It looks like a flower, but it's very well known as the wheel of emotion, and download the PNG to your phone. I'm going to say at some point this week, do that because you're going to want to use it after I teach you the technique I'm going to teach you, okay? You may notice here the very center part of this wheel, very intense levels of the basic human emotions. So let me look over here at this. You'll read it. I don't want to get too far out of the camera range or the microphone. Then it goes out one ring. They're less intense emotions, but there's still about 8 there. And then when it gets out into the leaves of the flower, there's less intense still, but still about 8. And then between the tips of the leaves tends to be some behaviors, okay? We're going to get into this deep in just a minute, but I wanted to introduce it to you now. Here's something profoundly interesting, at least to me, and because you're here, I bet it will be to you, that when Darwin wanted to write this book, it was based on his research of how human facial muscles expressed emotion, which makes sense. He's an evolutionary biologist. You would think that's what he would want to do. And he actually mapped them out in that book that he wrote. Now, he did it coming from the place of course, the survival of the fittest. So mapping out why people make expressions with their muscles to express emotion with their face is part of, okay, some people who are always frown, always sad, discouraged, aren't going to thrive. They're not going to pass their genes on. That was kind of the position he was coming from. I just basically summarized his entire book. You don't even need to read it now. But the importance of this research is critical because we have about 42 sets of muscles in our face to create one expression. Now, if I asked you, let's say, to move your levator labii superioris, that's the little muscle right here that when you get really stressed, it twitches, at least for me. It's very hard to just move that one little muscle. Or how about the one, it's the mentalis. It's the one that's right, the 2 muscles that are right here. Try to move that. Not with your hands. Some people are going like this. No, just try to move it with your face. It's not easy to move. There's a few that are obviously very easy, like if you look surprised like that. Everybody can do that, right? Turn to the person next to you and look surprised. Yeah, so one person, which almost everybody does, they use their mouth to help. They go, that's surprise, okay? Here's the beauty of this. We can't control the expressions our face makes when we're feeling something. Can't do it. We think we can. We think we're good, but as soon as we think we're good, we're expressing something. Now, some people are masters at this. One of them is Jim Carrey. He can move on command every little muscle in his face anytime he wants. In fact, he can make his face look like other actors. It's crazy. If you've never seen him do this, just do it. Jim Carrey looking like other actors. He can make his face look like cartoon characters. But for all the rest of us normal people, we really can't. It only expresses how we're feeling on the inside. Are you guys picking up what I'm putting down here? Interestingly, we see evidence of this in the Bible. Genesis chapter 4. Let me do a little something here. I'm going to move this so I can read it a little bit better. Abel, on his part, also brought an offering from the firstborn of his flock and from their fat portions, and the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering. But for Cain and his, he had no regard. So Cain became very angry, and his face was gloomy. I didn't mean to say that so loud. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry? Why is your face gloomy? If you do well, will your face not be cheerful? And if you do not do well, sin is lurking at the door, and its desire is for you, but you must master it." Way back at the very beginning of all of time, we see evidence where God is saying, your face is going to express how you're feeling on the inside. In fact, facial expressions are so important, they have moved over into our digital communication. So you're texting somebody to help them understand what you meant in your wacky text. You put a little emoji there. That emoji is actually showing facial muscle expression. Isn't that kind of creepy? Picture the muscles behind of an emoji face. That's what we do to help communicate. In fact, so many emojis have been created because of the sheer nuances of our human face when communicating with one another. Can I get a so what, Shawn? Thank you. So what, Shawn? Who cares? Why do we care about a list of human emotions? Why do we care if our face muscles express what's on the inside? Why has so much effort been put into this, and why are you talking about with us now? Because there is an incredibly wonderful symbiotic relationship between a list of human emotions, our facial expressions, and emotional intelligence. How many in here would say, I am a very emotionally intelligent person? Yes, I know you are, Julissa. She is. I know she is. How many would say, I am not very emotionally intelligent? All right. And of course, you know my next question. How many did not raise their hand for either one of those? Thank you for raising your hand. So a lot of people. I don't want to know why, but I'm going to get into in just a minute the importance of emotional intelligence. Remember UC Berkeley? They created an online digital magazine called Greater Good Magazine, where you can actually go for free and take an emotional intelligence test where you try to guess the expression on the person's face, what emotion that they're experiencing. So, from the list on the right of human emotions and looking at her face, what emotion is she expressing? So say a little bit louder. How many are convinced she's embarrassed? Okay, it is kind of hard to see, but that looks like quite a few, about 30%. How many are convinced she's fearful? Almost exactly the same amount. How many think sad? How many think surprised? Okay, believe it or not, it's fear. Now, interestingly, I took this test. It's 20 facial expressions, and I thought I was going to crush it. I only got 16 out of 20. So, how do you think I felt when I was done with that? Sad. Surprised. Like, what the? Now, I hope this doesn't sound, too arrogant, but what I boiled it down to, especially her, it's bad acting. Yeah, so all of you who said embarrassed, I said embarrassed as well, because she looks embarrassed to me. Okay, I heard some people growling. It's okay. Please go do it yourself. It's actually, I think you'll find it really fun. Can I get another so what, Shawn? Who cares, right? Okay. What about the correlation between facial expression, the list, and us being emotionally intelligent? Why is that symbiosis so important? Because there are 3 scientifically proven predictors of career success. Of these 3, emotional intelligence is one of them. How emotionally intelligent you are will predict how far you go in your career, which is why I'm doing what I do, because I want us to have an impact in the global marketplace for Christ. And if you remain an individual contributor, there's nothing wrong with that, but you can have way bigger of an impact if you rise up the chain of command. And to do that, you want to learn how to manage your emotions in any workplace situation. I'm going to teach you how to do it. Now, these other 2, IQ, intelligence quotient, and conscientiousness, We can't do anything about those. What we're born with, we're going to die with. Unless you have a brain injury, then it's reduced. But we can do something about our emotional intelligence, and I'm going to try to increase that in all of you today. Here's a twist, however. Emotional intelligence is not just about reading facial expressions. I bet you probably would have guessed that. It is about understanding how we're feeling that creates the facial expression, and then intentionally changing how we feel in the moment. Not once we've been able to go home and binge watch Breaking Bad or had some pizza. No, in that moment, right there at work, when it's coming at us recognize, okay, I want to choke that person right now. I'm going to change the way that I think about this, thereby being emotionally intelligent and changing the expression on my face. We're going to get into this in just a minute. Here's a definition for emotional intelligence. Appraising, expressing, and regulating emotion in self and others to solve a problem. That means it's very intentional. This will work wonderfully in relationships too. Your boyfriend, girlfriend, your spouse, your kids, learning how to regulate your own emotions, first recognizing them and then managing them, is going to make you profoundly successful. But Shawn, what if I'm not good at regulating my emotions in that moment? What do I do? That's a reasonable question. Yeah? Is anybody really good at regulating their emotions in the moment? So those who said I'm not good with emotional intelligence, that's kind of the same question. Are you thinking you are? Cool, that's great. This is what we want to all practice all the time. It's about being in step with the Spirit, right? Joyful always, that's it right here. Good news is we have a guy named Aaron T. Beck to thank for teaching us how to regulate our emotions in the moment. He was a psychotherapist back in the 50s, and he developed, while meeting with his patients, his clients, he started noticing in one aspect, let's call it depression, that people with depression, as they were expressing how they saw things, he recognized that their view of the world was distorted in those moments that they were depressed. In fact, he was the first guy ever to mark depression as a cognitive disorder, not a mood disorder. What's the difference? Well, if it's a mood disorder, you can't change it. You're stuck with it. If it's a cognitive disorder, you can sometimes think your way out of it. I am a living testimony. I have had chronic depression my entire life. I have been in the lowest of lows that you can possibly imagine, but for the last 20 plus years, no depression. By God's grace, I've learned these techniques that I'm going to teach you now to help me stay out of it completely, even during some really rough situations. I've learned how to grieve without being depressed, expressing emotions, but in a very healthy way. This is called cognitive restructuring. This is what Aaron Beck gave to the world. It became a psychotherapeutic system to help people with severe mental disabilities. Do you know what that tool is now called? Say it really loud. Yes, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Its foundations are cognitive restructuring, and we don't have to be completely nuts to take advantage of that wonderful insight. It's okay to be completely nuts, but we don't have to be to do it. So, here's the definition of cognitive restructuring. An emotion regulation strategy that involves changing the trajectory of our emotional response by reinterpreting the meaning of what we just experienced, the meaning of the emotional stimulus. That sounds a little bit too technical. So here's the very dumbed down way of saying it. It's a technique we can use to change the way that we react in each situation by reframing what we just experienced. That's what Aaron Beck noticed. People had a distorted view because their emotions kind of got in the way of how they were viewing things. Okay? I want to tell you, if cognitive restructuring works, meaning in the moment when our boss is barking at us and we feel like screaming or running out of the room, if cognitive restructuring can work in that moment to help us manage those emotions, then there's a very deep, profound truth that a lot of people have a very hard time believing. And I'm going to tell you what that is right now. And And I'm asking you to push the I believe button. The way that we feel, you and me, comes from what we tell ourselves about what's happening, not because of what's happening. Okay? I'm going to say that again. I'll put it up on the board. The way that we feel comes from what we tell ourselves about what's happening, not because of what's happening. That means nobody can make you mad. Yeah. Let that one wash over us for a minute. Okay? Your roommate can't make you angry. Your boss or your company can't make you sad. That driver on that highway can't make you enraged. We choose to be.
Question.
Yeah, please.
So, what if somebody does an injustice and it's a real objective injustice to us, and we are sad, not just for what we tell ourselves, but for the actual justice, because it is something that is objectively wrong.
Okay. Wonderful question, Manuel. Thank you very much. You're a genius. What if someone does an actual injustice to us, and it's very natural to respond in what I'll call a negative emotion, which there's nothing wrong with saying those words together, a negative emotion way. Yeah, I'm with you. I would then say, what does it mean when we're told by Christ to rejoice always? I will say it again, rejoice. Now, we want to understand what that means. I think the clue is we can, even in the worst situations that we can possibly imagine, learn how to rejoice. There's no wrong, there's no bad. It's just, if you want, you can learn to regulate the emotion in that moment. And I think it's a healthy thing to at least learn how to do it. We have people that are in very high levels of power that seem to not let anything fluster them, even though they're getting viciously attacked all the time. How in the world do they do that? Now, the more advanced levels of this is known as detached involvement, but it starts with cognitive restructuring. Okay? Really great question, thank you. Did that help? When someone goes like this, that's a yes and a no. Let's talk more after, because I'd love to share more, but great question, thank you. If we can learn to listen to our own internal thoughts, be aware of the exact thing we're telling ourselves, and then change what we're telling ourselves, then, in a sense, we can manage all 42 facial muscles at the same time. We can do it, because whatever we're feeling is going to come out in our face, okay? Managing our emotions, therefore our expressions, comes down to managing one thought at a time. Now, I'm not saying, hey, go be an expert at knowing how you're feeling, fluctuating all throughout the day, any time of day. No, that's going to be a little bit burdensome. But the next time you're feeling a little blue, just say, hey, what am I telling myself right now that's making me feel this way? Which means you do have to believe this, okay? How many are believing this statement here? Okay, it is kind of hard to see. Can I get if you believe in this, give me an amen. Okay, that's a lot. Great. Okay. I think that's why we have passages like this in the Bible. Take captive every thought and make it obedient to Christ. Whoa. Am I giving you a new perspective on what this verse could mean? You want to show up like Christ? Let's learn to take captive one thought at a time. How about this one that most of us in here probably have memorized? Philippians 4:8. Whatever is pure, true, noble, lovely, admirable, excellent, praiseworthy, think about such things. We're called to do this. That means, as tempting as it is to get into a negative spiral when bad stuff happens to us, in those moments, let's stop and say, I'm going to look for what's true, pure, good, noble, admirable, excellent, praiseworthy. That's what that means. This list of verses on here is a small list, but these verses directly tell us, like those last two I just showed you, to manage our thinking. If I got all the verses together that said directly, manage your thinking, dude, girl, it would take me an hour to read them all in front of you right now. But that's just the ones that say directly to manage your thinking. There are so many more that subtly encourage us on this. It's profound. Am I right, Ryan? Okay. Here's one of them. Proverbs 28:1. The wicked flee, though no one pursues, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. Can you see tucked away in here the idea of managing our thinking? Can you see that? Someone tell me what they see, how I'm using this as a description of how to manage our thinking. Someone tell me, where is that here? Yeah, please, Gary.
So the wicked flee when no one pursues, so people get scared over nothing.
Yeah, people have fear over nothing. So they're telling themselves something is chasing them. That's an internal thought. And it runs with them, and then they run away, okay? This is not saying if you ever do that, you're wicked. What this is saying, you have an option of being bold as a lion. When you're not doing that, you're not managing your thoughts, and that is going to lead you in a place you don't really want to go. I'm telling you, there are 100 verses like this. Yes, please.
So how would you like say you sin, right? And say you like go up to your parents or your coworkers or whatever like that, or you sin badly. How do you reset your head so that you don't constantly think about that for the rest of your life?
Okay, very good question. He said, what if you do blow up at somebody emotionally and it's a bad blow up to the point where you can say, yeah, I think I sinned against this person, and you can, let's say, see it affect them. How do you not let that affect you kind of ongoing and not keep bringing that up in your own mind and kind of reliving it, okay? This is, for some people, very difficult to do. I can't recall if I have a slide about it, but there are 5 main personality traits: openness, agreeableness, extroversion, conscientiousness, and neuroticism. Everybody has a combination of all 5. I score in the 97th percentile of conscientiousness. That is how badly I want to see a job done very well, super high quality. Here's the flip side of conscientiousness. I really struggle with shame a lot. And that's what he's describing. Shame. Sometimes shame is good. We want to feel ashamed. We see it in the Bible in 1 Corinthians chapter 5. But many times it's not. That's when we need to just let it go. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm sorry, boss. I was a jerk. One time, it wasn't over something emotional, but I had a boss. She was a global VP of service. And I was always giving her presentations to present her material to the CEO. And she asked me about the deadline on this one. And I'm like, yeah, I'm almost done. It was a bold-faced lie. And I immediately started that shame cycle, you know. And I just, you know what, I'm just going to go tell her. So I went into the office, and she's sitting at her desk writing stuff. And she's like, hey, Shawn, how you doing? I'm like, hey, Jody, I just wanted to tell you I lied. I really wasn't that far along on the project when you asked. She's like, okay, thanks. Have a good day, you know. Sometimes it's not right. It's not going to do you any good to go to somebody in the world and apologize and confess this deep sin. I'm telling you, it doesn't work. Deal with the shame on your own, okay? But you recognizing in the moment, oh, I just blew up at that person, that's not good. That is emotional intelligence, and that's great. Because many people blow up and don't even realize it. Yes, please.
Sometimes I feel like letting go is such a blanket statement that is easy for someone to tell someone, but not easy.
Okay, let me go a little bit deeper with that. The idea of letting go, you mean of something that you did that was wrong, or letting go of something someone that did wrong to you? Which one is more important in the context of this question? Something I did wrong to somebody else. Okay, does that mean, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're exploring, maybe it's right for us to kind of lash ourselves on the back?
No, it's more so if yeah.
So what does it mean for it to be hard to let go?
You're still holding on to it.
Yeah. We're basically flogging ourselves with it. If we're not letting go of it, we're using it against ourselves. This is my opinion. I could be wrong. Yes, please.
I feel like for me, like my experience, I think you can do a mind shift of this is a growth opportunity for me.
Oh,
Closer to God than I did something really bad.
as the way to let it go sooner?
The mind
Okay?
For me, the cognitive, like instead of focusing on, I just messed everything up.
Okay.
I'm horrible. It's like now I'm going, no, I'm actually learning something that will make me a better person to serve God in the future.
That is reframing. So for those that, well, I won't go back to it, but I'm going to come back to you in just a second. What she said was, sometimes if we do something that hurts other people, we feel like still holding on to it, and we think it's right to hold on to it for a little while. We're having trouble shaking it. It's okay to reframe it by saying, oh, I can learn how to get better so that the next time I don't do it. I'm growing in this situation. I'm going to make the most out of this personal sorrow that I can. What do you think of that?
No, I think that's great. I think it's more so when someone tells you like let it go, but you still are having trouble processing.
Okay. So she said the bigger problem exists if someone external to you is saying, you need to let this go, even though you're still processing it. So now you've got kind of two things you're dealing with. Oh, I got to listen to them. No one else is going to know what's right for you. We think that we do all the time, but we don't. As a professional coach, the one thing I had to practice and learn early on is I can't possibly know what's best for you. I can't. There's no way I can. So I ask you questions to kind of remove the blockers from your eyes, and then you go make the decision. And when we do that, we're kind of walking in the grace of Christ. Remember the second greatest command? Love your neighbor as yourself. If we can get good at moving past our own internal shame or punishment, we can do that way better for our neighbor. Thank you very much for that. Our thoughts create our feelings. Can I get another amen? And the way we think creates the way that we feel, which creates the expressions on our face and the responses that we give and show to the other people in the world. Now, here's the downside. You can't hide what you're thinking about. Okay? You think you can, but you can't. And we know this from this profound truth of Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 20, one of my all-time favorite passages. Do not revile the king, even in your thoughts, or curse the rich in your bedroom, lest a bird of the air carry your words, a bird on the wing report what you say. Is Solomon saying that there are such a thing as mind-reading birds that eavesdrop on your thoughts about somebody and then fly to that person and speak human language and say, hey, he was just thinking bad about you? Is that what Solomon is saying? Were you about to say probably not?
Yeah.
Okay, no, definitely not. Let me give you a definitely. So what is this saying? What is this saying?
What it's saying is that your thoughts will betray you.
Yeah.
Without the verb.
That's it. Your thoughts will betray you. We usually think, oh, people aren't going to tell how I'm feeling unless I have a complete meltdown. No. When those little muscle inflections change on your face because of something that's going on, people read it. They may not be super cognizant of exactly how you're feeling, but you're projecting that. We want to be great at managing our thinking, which manages our emotions, which manages how we're projecting ourselves to the world. Okay? Amen to that. Amen. So, where do we start? I'm going to tell you my technique right now. Please keep asking questions. Challenge me. I'm really okay with it. I want you to do it. Step number one, I told you already from before. But yeah, please.
Is that where Freudian slips come from?
A little bit louder.
Is that where Freudian slips come from? Like when
You know what?
thinking about it and then
Okay, so he said, the question was, is this really the essence, Ecclesiastes 10:20, where Freudian slips come from? Like we can't really hold back, and I would say yes. A lot of people bash Freud, but if you look at modern psychology, psychiatry today, it's based on almost all of his original assumptions. He got wacky later, but brilliant stuff, and Freudian slip, yes. Really great way to look at it, thank you. Step number one, I'm asking you to start thinking of your expression to the world in terms of the energy you're giving off. I promise you I'm not a Christian mystic. This is metaphorical, and it works really well if let's say you call me up for some coaching and I'm like, okay, what would you say your energy level is right now on a scale from 1 to 10? Anybody can answer that. It's an easy thing to answer. What's your energy level right now? About a 6. So I'm not doing that great, is what you're saying. Okay, brother, what's your energy level right now? Say 10. Okay, he said it's a 7. Mr. AV, what's your energy level right now? You're thinking about what you're gonna eat for dinner tonight, aren't you? It's 9? That's good, good, good. What's your energy level right now?
At least 8.
Okay, you see how easy it is to just come up with the answer? It's not hard. And then as a coach, the next thing I would say is, what would it take to go from a 6 to an 8? You know, it just gives you a little bit of insight. So ask this of yourself all the time. You have friends that are here with you, get them to question bomb you with this question. Hey, Sheila, what's your energy level right now? My team wins the Super Bowl. What's my energy level right now? I'm at a 20. I love watching UFC, mixed martial arts, so my fighter wins. What's my energy level right now? Please get great at asking and answering this question. Then, step 2, you want to identify the exact emotion word to describe that energy level. This is so profoundly important step. That's when you get out the Plutchik wheel of emotion. I'm a level 10, I'm a level 7. What word on this wheel best describes what level 7 is? Find the word. It'll be hard at first because it's new and you're going to be, okay, what does that word even mean, you know? But get used to it. Find the word, and here's why. Here's why this is so important. These two brilliant doctors, Dr. Peter Salovey, Dr. John Mayer, they're the founding fathers of emotional intelligence research. It is not Dan Coleman. He wrote the book, Emotional Intelligence. Everyone thinks, nope. He basically just went off of all of their work. But they did this profound experiment where they had a bunch of test subjects watch a dark, sad movie. As they came out of watching the movie, the researchers for the next couple of hours were asking them questions to talk about how they were feeling, to express it, describe it. The people that can actually put a feeling word to how they were feeling were able to climb out of the negative emotion like 10 times faster. This is a very important thing for you to learn to do because it will help you manage your emotions infinitely better at work than you are now. Some people have it on their phone. Some people put it on their computer as a screensaver or print it out and put it someplace. Please do that and get used to choosing the word that describes what that energy level is, okay?
All right.
Yeah?
Yeah, let's go.
Number 3, then you want to ask, based on how I'm feeling, what is it that I'm really telling myself to make me feel this way? What am I telling myself to make me feel this way? So I had a client, worked at a very big company in New York City, got on a call for a session. I could tell she was kind of blue, so I said, hey, what's your energy level right now? She told me, and I said, because I'd been working with her for a while, what are you telling yourself right now? She said, I'm telling myself that I'm overwhelmed. I said, okay, so if I walked up to you on the street and said, hey, you're overwhelmed, that would affect you emotionally? And she's like, no, I guess not. No. Okay, so what are you telling yourself? And she said, I'm telling myself my mom was right. I'm going to always be a loser. Oh, my goodness. That, when we hear ourselves say that, we can change it because no one wants to keep talking to themselves that way. We say things to ourselves that we would never, ever, ever say to another human being on the planet. Everybody does that frequently. Even the most upbeat, chipper, wonderful people, we all say dark things to ourselves, and it is those things that create the negative emotion in us. This step is going to take a lot of practice. It's not easy digging down into what is it I'm thinking. But to help you, I'm saying go dark and deep right away. Don't stay up at the surface. Like, yeah, I'm wondering how tomorrow's going to go. No. You're telling yourself, I'm going to look like an idiot in front of everybody tomorrow. That's what we all do. Okay? Can I get a kind of, yeah, I'm with you, Shawn? Yeah. Okay. This is how we can have a complete mind shift when we realize, oh boy, I just said something to myself that is disgusting. I'm not going to say that anymore. Then what you're going to do is you're going to state out loud your 5 core values. Shawn, What do you mean by core values? I'm glad you asked. If you were to take a shot at this right now, click it. If you would, just take a moment, put your name and email address there. You're going to get emailed right now where you sit a core values assessment. I'm not going to ask you to do it now. It takes about 8 minutes to do, and we really don't have the time. But this is going to also put you on my email list. So after this, if you want nothing else but the core values, just unsubscribe. I'm not going to be offended, I promise. But this was the only way I could really get it to you digitally. Download this core values assessment. Now, if you're going to do it on your phone tonight up in your room, let's say your hotel room, unfortunately, Adobe PDF forms don't work through a phone. It will on your computer at home, but not the phone. So get out a piece of paper and a pencil, or a pen and paper, and go through this process, okay? Find out what your 5 core values are. Jalissa, is it good for you to know what your 5 core values are? Ryan, is it good for you to know what your 5 core values are? Let me tell you, when you understand what your 5 core values are, you're going to instantly understand what it is that ticks you off during the day. Because we get upset when one or more of our 5 core values are being confronted. That's it. This is going to be for almost, let's just say, I'm making up a percentage here, 75% of the time, it's going to be explained by, oh, it's because I value promptness, and this dude is late to every meeting I start. Here's the good thing about knowing our core values. We can let everybody else off the hook because they don't have our core values. They have their own. Maybe that person that comes late to every one of your meetings that really bothers you values freedom. Some people have to go into work and punch into a time clock. Some people despise that. It's because their value might be autonomy. But some people look forward to going and putting that in, because their value is orderliness or on time. Who knows? Yes.
So do we feel certain emotions because sometimes we let down ourselves with our core values?
Okay.
We don't meet our expectations with our values?
Wonderfully insightful once again. He said, what? What's that? Do you want to give him a round of applause? This is what we would call Holy Spirit power activate. Okay, I'm giving a shout out to Tanya Vandenine who taught me that. I love it. I use it all the time now. So he's saying, if one of our core values, okay, repeat what you said. I lost it.
I was saying that do we feel certain emotions because
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Got it. Do we feel certain emotions when one of our core values isn't being portrayed because we're not aligned with it and we feel bad about that? And that is yes. Here's the unfortunate part. We almost always never realize that. When you know what your core values are, you're going to now get to go to work and you're going to go, this is why I hate my job. Oh my goodness. It is literally going against every one of my core values. What we want to do is align ourselves with our core values. That doesn't mean if we're at a stinky job, we don't have to manage our emotions. We do. We're learning how to do it. I'm teaching you this. But it does mean we can be more informed about the next job we take, the next opportunity, who we date, who we marry, whatever, what TV shows you watch. If you're watching something that violates or goes against one of your core values, you're not going to feel great afterwards. But almost nobody realizes that's what's happening. Okay? So download your core values, please, and do them. Step number 5. Now, oh, by the way, let me go back to the core values. Here's how I do it. I do it as a prayer. When I realize I'm a negative energy, let's say a level 2 or level 3 energy, and I'm like, okay, what am I telling myself? And I'm like, yeah, I just told myself that I'm a moron. The next step, state your core values. I say it like this. I'm like, wait a minute, God, you created me to be a man of fun, emotional health, spirituality, leadership, and truth. That is who you made me to be. Now, do you see the energy that I just did when I said that? That right there shifts me instantly in that moment. Because recalling your core values is living out Philippians 4:8. Whatever is true about you, whatever is pure about you, noble about you, excellent about you, praiseworthy about you, any of that is all wrapped up in your core values. So I'm telling you, think about your core values often, especially if you're starting to, tank. And then I say it out loud as a prayer. Now, you may not want to do that at work. Wait a minute, God, you made me to be a woman. No, don't do that. But do it in your head with emphasis, energy, conviction, intentionality. That is going to start the shift in your negative energy instantly. It's profound the way this works. It works, but it does take practice. Then the next step, oops. Yeah, sorry. Thank you, all those fellow conscientiousness people. Then you want to ask, okay, based on my core values, what's a better thing to tell myself about this situation? This is the reframing. This is where cognitive restructuring happens, this step right here. What's a better thing to say instead of, I'm going to look like a total moron when I go and present today? Which, by the way, I think that. I struggle with that sometimes when I, to come in here on the way over. This wonderful sister was helping me rush. My bag was zipped open and spilled all my stuff on the floor, like in the crowd of everybody. Now I'm kind of, okay, I'm out of breath. Okay, I'm going to look like an idiot up there. That thought goes through my mind. But I stop. Okay, wait a minute. God, you made me to be a man who's a leader. I'm a man of fun. And let me tell you, doing this stuff is fun for me. Snaps me out of it in an instant. Now, I've been doing this for 12 years. But the more you practice it, the better you get. Because practice makes perfection does not exist but in one man. It makes progress, improvement. The only thing we can do is get a little bit better. A little bit better, a little bit better. Okay? And then one day we get to see King Jesus. And then we can say, now I'm perfect. Okay? But until then, don't. What's a better thing to tell myself? This takes some practice too. You want to use one of your core values. Wait a minute. A better thing to say is, I'm a man of fun. That's who God created me to be. I'm going to try to have fun with this. Or I'm a leader. God made me to be a leader. I'm going to choose the behavior that a leader would choose. And your energy is now not just going to shift, it's going to stay shifted. Are you with me? Yeah. Are you with me on that one? Yeah. Okay, just checking. Thank you. Then lastly, you want to ask yourself, how does this new thought make me feel? This is where the Plutic wheel comes back in. Okay, I'm telling myself, wait a minute, I'm a man of fun. I'm going to go there and I'm going to have fun no matter what. I pull the Plutic wheel out and say, okay, what's the new feeling I'm feeling now? And I choose the word that I feel because of this new thought. What this does, it teaches the subconscious part of our brains that new thoughts create new feelings. And it means we are in control. We can actually be joyful always. We can. Okay? Last one, and then we'll open up the Q, or we may have to close, I don't know. Oh, we can do Q&A for 10 minutes. The last question is, when I feel this new way, what behaviors do I tend to exhibit? This is where we use visualization like all professional athletes use. You're going to close your eyes, you're going to picture you feeling this new feeling, and imagine the scene of what's going on around you at work, around the people, in this new feeling. Visualize it. Picture yourself. See what you smell. Feel like your foot walking on the carpet. Make that vision as real as you possibly can. There's a foundational, beautiful experiment where they got 3 different groups of basketball shooters. They had all 3 groups shoot free throws and measured their accuracy. Then one group got to practice for 15 minutes just shooting. The second group got to practice visualizing how the ball felt in their hand, the sound of it bouncing off of the court, them bending their knees, them kind of throwing the ball, visualizing it, the sound of the ball going into the net. Then the last group couldn't do either one of those 2 things. First group goes up, they increase their accuracy percentage by 37%. The last group who couldn't do anything, no improvement. How much improvement do you think happened just from the people who could visualize the shot? Unfortunately, not more than the first, but 23% increase just by visualizing it, okay? This is why professional athletes use visualization techniques all the time. Tennis pros, shout out to Nancy Grimes. Tennis pros, when they bounce that ball, you know what they're doing on that backcourt before they serve? Picturing exactly where the ball is going to land on the other side of the net. That's what they're trained to do. Have you ever seen a downhill slalom? Before they go, they do this. They're just at the top before the thing goes, going through the whole route. We can use that same technique here to change our emotions in any workplace situation. Okay? There you have it. As neat as I could make it. I did oversimplify this, but if you practice it at the level that I just described, you're going to get great at managing your emotions. You're going to suddenly appear more promotable because, wow, they have a level head in so many situations. Let's give them more responsibility, and you can continue to glorify God in that new role. My last request to you, if you did not sign up, that's okay. But please go to my YouTube channel. It's Motivationeer. Like and subscribe and hit the notification button and watch my videos. I've got about 200 up on there. I just put up 2 from me being here, all designed to help you be the best you can be for Christ at work without compromising your faith. All right, let's open it up for Q&A, and then we'll shut down at 12:30. What questions you got for me, if any? It's going to be hard to see. Yeah, it's being recorded in the camera. Okay, I see one hand here and one in the back. Okay.
And you know that you're feeling certain ways, but you're trying to process what you're feeling, but the dialogue is still happening. Like, how do you, if you don't feel like you can exit the conversation, what can you do to regulate?
Okay, so the question is, while you're practicing and learning this, you're going to be in a situation where you're watching the conversation spiral, ending up in negativity. How do you deal with that? How do you exit it, or what do you do in that moment? That is, what we want to make sure that we don't do is demonstrate that we can't handle it. Okay? One technique, it's called acknowledge and validate. I literally just put a video up from me sitting in my booth answering this exact question. It's a process called AVWM. You acknowledge that they're feeling upset, validate that it's okay to feel that way, and then say, okay, what can we do to kind of work this out? If you ask open-ended questions in the moment, just say, okay, what can I do to help here? What, when, where, how, and who. It will get you better in the moment of de-escalating their emotions. Now, if it's your own emotions, this might not be ideal, but try to do a deep breath in that moment right there. Deep breathing activates the parasympathetic. Whenever I do this, I hear people taking deep breaths in the audience. That's just cool to me. But it activates our parasympathetic nervous system, which gives us some dopamine and depletes cortisol and adrenaline. So just in that moment, just go, and then slap them. No. Just, that calms us. God designed us to do that automatically. Does anyone know what that automatic function is called? The sigh. You ever seen someone that sighs a lot? It's because they're kind of stressed. A lot's going through their mind. So the body automatically sighs to try to center itself. In the middle of a tough discussion, just try to breathe in slowly. Now, it works. Some people might go, what are you stressed? Why are you deep breathing right here? But then go home and practice this thing more. Okay? Does that help at all? Okay. A little bit?
It does, but I just wonder, like, what can you communicate to help someone understand where you are?
Okay. She said, okay, that's good. It basically helped just this much, Shawn. But what if you want to communicate to them how you're feeling about the situation? Remember this. It is more important to understand than to be understood. When we are in the mode to understand where they're coming from, that is a form of empathy. When we empathize with them, it tends to de-escalate their energy. Now, they could be on a power trip or had a horrible day that has nothing to do with you, and it's not going to, but just be a great listener. And then use active listening. Okay, It sounds like what you're saying is you want to murder me. Am I right? Just some kind of active listening to get back what they're saying. And then let them go, no, no, you're hearing it wrong. This is really how I'm feeling. That works wonderfully well. Okay? So are we up to about that much? Yay. Okay. So I saw another hand up. There we go. Yes.
This is kind of a two-part question.
You only allowed one part.
So, I heard that, music can actually change your emotions.
Yeah.
Do you recommend listening to music that matches your emotions or listening to music that you want your emotions to change?
Okay. He said he's heard that music can affect our emotions, so do we want to listen to music that matches our emotions or takes us to where we want our emotion to be? The answer is yes. There's a beautiful book by a guy named Dr. Bob Arnott called The Biology of Success. He was the guy that was hired, he was a medical doctor hired by NBC to go out with all the field reporters during the war and help keep them kind of sane. He has a technique that I used to use a long time ago, I don't do it anymore, where you... I hate to say it because I am an old fart now. I used to get a tape cassette and mix my own tape of music, but this is what he said to do, and I did it and it worked. Start out with a song that's in the minor mode, a low, negative, slow, somber melody. Listen to it for about a minute. Then listen to a next song that's a little bit more upbeat, but maybe still in the minor mode. 15, 20, 30 seconds. Then listen to a song that's a little bit more kind of exciting but not overpowering. Then listen to a song that's like really starting to get up there, and then end with a song that makes you just want to go sprint a marathon. That will bring you right out of the negative emotion. We can't really do that at work. That's more for, in my opinion anyways, it's more to keep us from spiraling when we're off kind of by ourselves. But you can use Spotify and we'll create this little thing and then just hit play and go through it. It does work. Biology of Success, Dr. Bob Arnott. You can go ahead with part 2 if you want.
The second one is kind of similar. Like, what if you change your emotions too quickly? Like, say that your coworker is like ranting about something for like a really long time, and instead of you kind of have like a positive emotion, but that would make them angrier. So is it important to match their emotions, or is it important to like have a more positive emotion?
Okay, so his question was if you're in a situation where the person's negative and you're now using this technique and you're now feeling positive, would that be counterproductive to all of a sudden just be positive in that moment? That's not how it's going to work for you, I promise. Using this technique, it's going to help you be level-headed so you can better receive their negativity. It's not going to make you want to start singing Dancing in the Rain. It's going to say, hey, sorry. I'm about to sneeze. Sorry. It's loud when I do, and I didn't want to do that on the mic. It's going to help you be more moderate, I promise you. Because if you're like, oh, hey, all of a sudden they're going to want to lock you up. We don't want that to happen. Okay. Yes, please. I can't hear you. I'm so sorry. Okay. If I heard you right, you said, how do you stop an avalanche or overwhelming load of negative emotion once it sets on? Oh, if a whole bunch of other people are like a mob, pitchforks, and they got burning stakes? Run. In those situations, just get out of there. If a whole bunch of people are kind of just piling it on, one thing you can do is like, hey guys, everything that you're saying to me is important. Let's just take a break. We'll resume again in 30 minutes. I'm going to go have a cup of coffee, take a walk around the building, and then we'll come back and have a more healthy discussion. Okay? Is that what you're saying? It is hard to hear you just because I need miracle ear and I haven't got one yet. Okay, I'm going to come down.
So I have a difficulty with coworkers who have a lot of emotions, and my empathy overdrives, and I cannot feel my own feelings because I keep absorbing their feelings, and I don't know how to obtain when there's like a horde of them.
Okay, so if we get a lot of people in our lives that are expressing negative emotions and we get stuck into this, by the way, do we have another class like starting right now, brother? Okay. I'll stay as long as you guys want. If you guys want to get up and go, I understand too. But if we're in a situation where we are an empath and we're taking on their negativity, that's an opportunity for us to learn to not do it. The way, for me, in my opinion at least, but do some more research, the best way to do it is to tell ourselves it's not my job to make them feel better. Only they can change how they feel because you can't make them feel anything. They choose to, okay? Now, I had a coaching session. Please watch the last 2 videos I posted on my channel because 2 sisters came to my station and her coaching question was that. I'm taking on my boss's negativity and I don't know how to stop doing it. I asked her, how many times has your boss asked you to fix her? And she said, not once. Okay, so you're doing something that you weren't asked to do. They're not asking you to help them. We think we hear them saying, hey, make me happy, I'm upset. That's not what they're saying, okay? Then say, remind yourself frequently, maybe tattoo it, not my job on the back of your finger, something like that. And remind yourself all the time, this will just take practice. It's not bad, it's great to be empathetic. Unfortunately, some of the consequences of that, you're gonna have depressed pay, you're not gonna be making as much money as you want, might be overlooked from time to time for promotion opportunities, and you might get some of the grunt work, because they recognize, oh, she's an empath, she'll kind of take it, okay? So what do you think about using that technique? Good? Oh, great, thank you. Yes, sir. There is a book I do. He's asking if there's any book recommendations. There's a beautiful book called The Energy Bus. Ooh, it is so good. It's written as a parable, and it's about a bus driver who makes all of the people on the bus very high energy before they arrive to their corporate work. And it starts off like we all do when things don't good. A guy is getting ready to go give a big presentation, walks out to his car, and he has a flat tire. And he says, of course I have a flat tire. Then he goes to the bus stop to catch the bus, and it starts raining. Of course it's going to rain. It shows us we think negative, and it affects our outcomes. So Energy Bus is a great one. Another one's called The Go-Giver. The Go-Giver by Bob Berg. Really great book about how to be the person that's always giving away without sacrificing our energy to do it. It's great. Great question. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. If I heard you right, you're saying, are the Stephen Covey techniques also good to practice? And the answer is yes. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is a wonderful book. I recommend it. As you read it, you're going to notice there's a lot of stuff that's outdated, but just modernize the technique in your own mind for each of those 7 habits. It's a wonderful book. I do recommend it. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So asking those questions helps the person see that they're taking care of. And the answer does not lie in me.
Yeah.
As someone who's a disciple, for example, the
Right on. Yeah. So she's saying this will also help us in discipling relationships as we understand our emotions and theirs. It'll help them get to their solution better. I totally agree. Amen to that. Yes.
Hey, so this is like a follow-up question to what the sister asked about your bosses or whoever you're working with, their negative emotions. For me, I was in a very toxic, negative working environment, and God blessed me that I have a new job. I'm a teacher, so that's so many different emotions and craziness going on from administration, parents, kids, but my previous administrator, she was very negative, and the whole just culture of the school was toxic, but she would dispel that negativity on her staff.
Okay.
So how do you repel that, not take that on? I mean, it was constantly, that was her approach.
Okay. I'm with you. So what you're saying is in your role as a teacher, there's lots of negativity from the directors, et cetera. It seems to be constant because they're stressed out. How do you repel that? Okay. Interesting story. I'll make it brief. When I was at GE, my little division got absorbed by a bigger GE division. I'm now overnight reporting to an executive level general manager, and she was a very impressive human being in stature, in her career experience, a genius, PhD, used to work at GE Aircraft Engines and came over to GE Healthcare. Now I'm reporting to her, and every interaction I have with her, it's like she's looking at me in a demeaning way. She never wants my opinion. Whenever we'd go for meetings, she would always try to avoid me. When we have our one-on-ones, it was super awkward, and she just wanted to get off the phone as quickly as possible. I'm like, I'm going to get fired here. Man, this stinks. I love this job. Why is this happening? So, as God would have it, that happened to be around the time that I was going to learn how to become an executive coach. And the first 3-day weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I learned that people reflect back the energy I am giving off. That means if they were right, my negative thoughts about my new manager was communicating to her low energy, and she was only reflecting back to me my own negative energy. So I'm like, whoa, that's heavy. As the Lord would have it, the end of that 3-day weekend, Sunday night, I had to get on a plane and go to Milwaukee for a 5-day workout with her and all of her staff. I was one of 8. I go in Monday morning, I sit through all the workout. At lunchtime, we break. We're walking out. She grabs me by the arm with her gigantic hands, pulls me to the side, and she's like, Shawn, what's going on with you? And I said, what do you mean? She's like, you're different, and I want to know how you're different. What is it that's different about you? And then when I clicked, I'm like, oh, I learned in my first coaching weekend that I don't have to be afraid of you anymore. And she said, what did you say? And I said, our relationship is weird and awkward, and I learned that it's because of me, not you. And she's like, would you be willing to train the rest of the team on this because everybody's intimidated by me, and I don't know why it is. My first group coaching session with what was a bunch of senior leaders that all reported to her. So to let her off the hook. Now, I'm saying to you, not you're the reason why she's acting like that, but part of you is reflecting back energy back and forth between her. So what we want to do is manage our own feelings in the moment, no matter how they're feeling. You weren't in my session right before this one, right? Dealing with passive aggression at work. Were you in that one? Okay. I covered this in great depth in the one I was just in, dealing with passive aggression at work. It was recorded. Please go look at that. But what we want to do is make sure we don't let their energy affect us. Who cares how bad they feel? They're not going to make me feel bad. I'm sorry you're having a bad day, but look, I smell roses. So now, if the culture of the company continues in that direction, might be a good time to leave.
Oh, I've already left.
So why are you out? You have the answer already. Yeah.
But for me, I can be very emotional person.
Yeah, I am too.
Very sensitive and taking on other people's emotions.
Yeah.
So I don't want any of my, like that
I gotcha.
job. So it's something I'm praying about and trying to actively work on.
Good.
Because, I am going into a new place. I have to learn
Bravo.
their ways of doing things, their whatever.
That's great. I love it. There's a saying that we had in the coaching business, I don't have to accept the invitation to every fight I'm invited to. I can decline the invitation. I don't have to accept the invitation to every argument or every whatever. Do you have a question? Yes, please.
Yeah, she mentioned being sensitive, and I think that's an issue when you are constantly looking for affirmation that your performance is adequate.
Yeah.
And then you're constantly sensitive, you're constantly kind of, how do you desensitize yourself, or how do you reframe it, as you might say?
Yeah, so if we are the kind of person that takes on how other people are feeling and we want to make them happy and want to do better for them, that is people pleasing. That's part of the agreeableness personality trait. There's nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't always serve us well. So what we want to do is practice being disagreeable from time to time. Just be disagreeable. Who cares how it makes them feel? Jesus was one of the most disagreeable people on the planet. He said literally, it was a disciple. A disciple came to him and said, Jesus, let me first go bury my father, then I'll follow you. It was a disciple. And he said, let the dead bury their own dead. I mean, that's really disagreeable. The way he responded in Matthew 23 to the Pharisees, your father, the devil, So we want to practice being disagreeable from time to time. Just going, you know what? I'm not going to nod my head with them right now. That was my thing. I would just, yeah, okay, yeah, all the time. I'm like, I'm not going to nod my head. Then I would take notes in this thing. At the top of the page, I would write, shh, on my book and just shut my mouth and not say a word. I'm telling you, that made a huge difference for me. Because I want to validate everybody all the time, agree with them, help them, support them. It doesn't work well. Am I answering your question?
No, I mean, yes.
Wait a minute. No. What I meant to say was yes. That's hilarious. Good, good. So will that help?
Yes.
Okay.
So what are some practical long-term things for people like us who are easily take on others' emotions, negative emotions, and who are sensitive to other people's
Okay. Long-term practice for people who tend to take on other people's feelings and emotions, which is not a healthy thing for us, it's not sustainable long-term, is to practice just once a week saying no to somebody that you used to say yes to immediately. Now just practice it once a week, okay? Then you'll start to notice, oh, I have a little bit more free time. I'm not feeling as down or discouraged. There's one of my favorite all-time motivational speakers is a guy named Les Brown. Oh boy, the guy changed my life. This is 25, 30 years ago now, but if you haven't heard of him, please look up The Best of Les Brown and watch him on YouTube. It's amazing. But he used to always say, every so often, take a look around at your friends and see which ones are energy drainers and which ones are energy givers. And then be willing to shed the energy drainers. And he told this funny story. A vacuum cleaner sales guy was going door to door selling, crushing it. Then he comes up to this one porch, and there's a guy in a rocking chair and an old dog laying next to him. So he's like, okay, I'm going to sell a vacuum cleaner to this guy, and he's giving the guy his pitch. And every so often, the dog would start moaning. And it was really throwing him off, and the dog just kept doing it, not barking, not growling, just moaning. So eventually, the guy was like, look, what is wrong with your dog? And the guy said, oh, he's laying on a nail. And the guy's like, why doesn't he get off the nail? And the old man said, because it doesn't hurt him that much. You have people in your life that refuse to get off the nail that they're laying on. You can't help those people. You have to say, are you going to get off that nail? If not, I got to go this way. Jesus said, do you want to be healed? If they don't, get great at acknowledging who just wants to complain. Here's a sad thing. It's true. It might not feel good when you hear me say this. If people are coming to you to complain all the time, you are giving off negative energy. People don't come to complain to me. They used to because I was constantly negative. It's level 3, level 2, and level 1 energy. Level 1 energy is flight, level 2 is fight, and level 3 is I'm high energy. Level 2 and level 1 energy attract each other constantly. Constantly. People who want to run away attract people who want to fight. People who want to fight attract people who want to run away. This is the essence of dysfunctional relationships. Domestic abuse. As soon as one of the two people decides to not take their role of flight or fight, the relationship is instantly over. If you have lots of negative people around you all the time, shed them. Cool? Did you have a, oh yeah, please, yes sir.
No, I just said boundaries.
It's boundaries.
But also I would say this as well, 'cause I work around
Weightlifters, obviously.
weightlifters. One thing I appreciate this because it's all about the image of Christ. And when you talk to people, you got to make sure that it's always that same tone of voice. And because we're representing Christ with our image, when
Yeah.
they see us and how we react to their emotions. But also boundaries is so crucial when you're dealing with people.
Have you ever read that book, Boundaries? You back there?
Oh, I have not read some of it. I have boundaries. I'm good on that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I wanted to ask, I have a friend, a married friend who, we've been friends for probably at least 10 years, but there would be a lot of things where we would lose touch and not talk, and so we are back in each other's, lives now. And I'm like, oh my God, everything she says, she is complaining, but I try to flip it and say something positive. And so now I just don't want to be around her because I forgot that she was that's all she did. And that's
Yeah.
patterns throughout
It might be time to shed that, but there is a way that you can help people that are in that negative state, who are always complaining. And I did a video about it that I just posted on Monday night. Go to my channel and watch it. It's called Dealing with Negative Coworkers. Or no, it's called Chronically Negative Coworkers. And it's a technique that you're going to learn that's going to blow your mind, and it's going to help her if you try it. Yeah, you can choose to do that. Now, how close would you say that aligns to the love of Christ? Okay, just checking. Okay, here's a freebie for everyone. Where does overwhelm come from? When we think everything has the same level of importance or priority. That's when we get overwhelmed. Guess what? All or nothing thinking, exactly right. If we think everything is equally important, we will get overwhelmed because we can't do everything at once. You choose what to make a priority. What I believe 1 John 4:20 says is, how can you love God in heaven who you don't see if you don't love the people on earth who you do see? I don't want to give you advice. Only you know what's best for you. I couldn't possibly know. It might be good to prioritize at least having that initial discussion with her first and then working on other stuff. Just a thought. Yes, sir. Yep, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I got my coaching certification with a company that's really big on Eastern meditation. They teach the 7 chakras as levels of energy. It's bunk, it's garbage, but there is an essence of it that is true, so I just use 3. 3, 2, 1. It's just a metaphor to identify, okay, am I in a level 1, level 2 state, or am I in a level 3 state? Because if you're in a level 1, level 2, you're going to attract one of those two to you. We want to always be in level 3. Then who do we attract? Level 3 people. And that's what we want to be around. And it'll make it, let's say you have a bunch of employees and one of them is chronically negative. At some point, you're going to have the confidence and energy to say, hey, look, maybe this just isn't the best place for you. But if I'm walking around with negative energy, they're going to be feeding off my energy. Then it's me.
Yes.
We stay level 3. They're not reflecting it. Maybe it's not right for them to be here.
That's so true.
Cool? With all your weightlifting buddies?
No, I'm going to say so true.
Yeah.
I'm a very negative person on my job. It's so negative. To me, my emotions don't go up, it doesn't go down. It's right in the middle.
Please watch that video.
And so it doesn't faze me because I pray every day before I go to work. God help me to get along with my coworkers, help me to go learn at my job. But
That's
also
cool.
understand I don't want to raise my tone. I want to be consistent in the way I interact, regardless of negative or
Yeah. My prayer is help me to respond with humility. I don't ask for humility. I don't ask for patience. God, please help me to choose a patient response. Help me to choose a humble response. Help me to choose a loving response. Yeah.
Is this your channel on YouTube or your website where the videos are?
YouTube. Yep.
One question.
Yeah.
One question. Why do you like to be a life coach?
I'm not a life coach.
Or
Executive coach.
executive coach? Why do you like
When I got baptized in 1991, as God would have it, He allowed me to be unbelievably fruitful. I was just, anyone I would meet, I'd study and baptize them like constantly. I was in the Navy, submarine service. I went out to sea for 3 months, submerged. At that time, in that Navy ministry, anybody who got baptized then went out to sea ended up falling away. I came back after 90 days having studied with 75 people on a submarine of 150, and 2 of them wanted to be baptized. It wasn't me, it was God. I thought, oh, I'm supposed to be in the full-time ministry. He shut every single door that opened up for me to be in the ministry. Nope, 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 nope. And I went begrudgingly, with a chip on my shoulder, into the corporate world. Once I went into got to GE many years later, I made the best of it. I was successful, but GE sent me to, they have a private college in Lake Ossipee, New York. It's just a GE college campus for leaders. I got to go to it. One of those days, I got my own executive coach. Never even heard of it before. And I'm like, what is it that you do? How did you become this? Then he said, oh, you can go get an executive coaching certification. That's when the skies opened, the angels started singing, and I realized that is what I do full time. Because I love God's word. I have a deep passion for it. I was successful in the corporate world, and I want to lead people. That's it, Christian executive coaching. And man, I started it 12 years ago. I'm still going until he says, stop. I'm going to keep doing it.
Is GE General Electric?
GE's General Electric. Some customers would say it stands for good enough. Sadly. Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Really appreciate it. You're awesome. Thanks for staying. And I have a booth near the book table. I'm giving free coaching nonstop all the way through till Sunday. Come on by. The booth is right next to the Hope table and the book table. It's huge. You can't miss it. It's really gaudy.